Hi, my name's Jeff Rhodes, and this is another video on Microsoft 365 and inspired by my book that you can see here. So what we're going to talk about today is going from Microsoft Forms, attaching a file or one or more files, and then having that automatically get copied to SharePoint, but then rather than just be individual files, we want to use Power Automate to make a SharePoint list item for each one and then put the attachment in there on the list item. So kind of cool in real world. Had to do this recently and wanted to share it with you. So let me first give credit to a guy named Norm Young so you can see his post here. So most of what I am showing you I learned from this post. I had to change it a little bit. Norm's post talked about going into getting it out of OneDrive for Business, and I wanted to go to SharePoint. So I'll make this a group form, and then that, instead of putting it in OneDrive, it puts both the Excel file, which I'm not using, but the attachment into SharePoint, which I think is more appropriate in most cases. We like to teach people that OneDrive is for your personal files, and Team/SharePoint are for organizational files, which would normally be like the results of a question. So let's get started, but thanks to Norm for getting me going. So we're going to start in Forms here, and what I want to do is make it right as a group form. Okay, so I've got a couple groups, two of them named Platte Canyon, so I already kind of found the right one, hopefully, that I'm going to go into. So I'm going to go into group and say new group form. And that just keeps me from having to make a personal and then move it to a group and does another step. So I'm just going to call this attachment test. And what I want is I literally only going to have one question. So I'm going to call it, do a text long answer. I'll just say describe the document. And I'll make it required, and then I'm just going to add a file upload, and I'll limit it to 3 files. I'm not going to make this required, so it's sometimes nice to test it without a file, so maybe we don't need that. If I go to my settings, I want to go ahead and record the name so that I know, I'm going to use that and put it in my list. So that looks good. I'm going to just preview it for now so that we can see what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to say Christmas picture, and I'm going to upload the file, and there's a Christmas file right there, and submit. So let me go over to my SharePoint site. That's a good sign. It created this. So notice I'm in the Documents library, and it created apps, Microsoft Forms, test, the question, and then the list. I'm a little bit surprised it said question there, so maybe I didn't. Let me go look at it again. It's kind of, oh, that's because it didn't save my lit work there, so I should have said, please provide up to 3 documents. So that's an oversight. So let's do this again. Christmas test 2. I'll upload that file again. And submit. And if we go over to SharePoint, let's refresh it. And it's still called a question, which I don't really like. So let me see if I can get rid of this and do it again. So let's delete this. And we'll try it again. Whoops. Preview it. It's called Christmas test again. My Christmas tree. Whoops. Let me pause for a minute while I figure that out. All right, I'm back and I learned something. So I recreated the form, and same thing is it made it so I still had apps, Microsoft Forms. I called the new one upload attachments, but it still called it questions. So I thought when I did this before it would name the question, but it doesn't really matter. It gave me my attachment. So we'll go ahead and move on. So that works out well. Now, but again, I don't want it this way. I want to make a list. So let's go ahead and just put it in the same site for simplicity. So I'm going to go to Site Contents, and I'll say New List, blank list, and I'll just call it Attachments List, like that. And then I like to go to the old school list settings, so I'll do it there. Notice attachment, the title is always there. So I'm going to call this email address with the idea that this will be the person who entered the form. And then I will add one more. All I really need is the description. See, I've used that before. I'll make that multiple lines. I don't care about plain enhanced text. I'll make it plain text. And then I don't need to add anything for attachment because a SharePoint attachment can already be there, So in other words, it already has an attachment. So let's move on. Let's go to Office, and let's go to Power Automate now. So let me go to All Apps, Power Automate. And my flows, and I'll create a new automated cloud flow. And I'll just say copy attachment and responses from forms. That's a nice long name. And you see it's remembered I've done this before, so I'm going to trigger it when a new response is submitted. Now, one of the things that's a challenge here is it's got my old thing I was playing with, but it doesn't have that upload attachment. So what I have to do is I need to do a custom value. So it can be a little challenging to get the form ID is what we need there. But if I look at the URL, see right here, I've got the form ID. So I'm going to hit Shift and End and see if I can get that whole bit right there is the form ID. So the minute I make that a group form, then I need that. So let's use that and paste it in. Just press return. Like do new step. There we go. So now it's kind of found it. Okay. And then I need forms again. I get response details, so it again wants that form. So I'll enter custom value, put the form ID in, and then the identifier, we can just pull it like that. All right, so what we want to do next is we want to create a list item. So we type in SharePoint here, and we say create item, and we see if it remembers. Actually, I don't remember what that one is, so let's go over here and just make sure we have the right one. So that's where our list is. There we go. Oops. So it looks like it's that one, Sites Black Canyon, and then attachments list. Let's make sure that's the right one. Yep, attachment list. And then what I really love about Power Automate is it gives me the choices. So I'm going to say, okay, my email is actually the responder's email. And then the description is, please describe the files. And I save. So let's do this part for now, because what we need to do in a minute is to get our hands on the JSON of the attachment. So we want to leave it there and then run it. So let's go back over to this form, if I can find it, so I can do it again. So we'll call it response 2. And very importantly, I'm going to upload a file again. Let's see if I can find some document. What is old boarding pass of mine? There we go. Submit. All right, so let's go look at Power Automate and see if it ran successfully, which it did, which is great. So we got our details, and we were able to create the item. So far so good. It's got some of our stuff. There we go. Got some things in there. All right, good deal. So let's go check our list, see if it got added. It did. It didn't. But notice if I edit this, so there's no attachment here. So that's what we want to do next, is to get our hands on the attachment. So far so good. So let's go back and edit this some more. So what we want to do next is we want to add a condition. So let's go in here and condition and say, okay, we'll want to just check if there is an attachment. So if we come in here, say, so notice we've got like, that's all the SharePoint stuff, but what we want is the please load the files. So if that's not equal to blank, then if it's yes, then we do something called compose. So we do a data operation, compose, and again, we'll grab that out of the list. So this please upload that. So let's save it again, because what this is going to be is some JSON that we got to see what it looks like. Oops, cancel. We want to save that first. So we'll go back here and submit another response. We'll just call it response 3. Upload something else. Oh, who knows what's going on. Maybe I better go back to pictures again. Actually, I know on my D drive I got a bunch of pictures. There we go. Let's look at me. There we go. Picture of me and my dad way back when. So that'd be kind of fun. And submit. So let's go look at our flow again. There we go. Succeeded. Actually, I don't see the... That's not the right one. Oh, yeah. I need to get the newest one. There we go. Yeah. And so what we want to do is we want to get this output, or get this JSON right here, so we get it. So what we want to do is copy this whole thing. let me just fire up Notepad real quick and I'll show you what the whole thing looks like. Let me move that to the right spot so we can bring that over here. And if we copy in that JSON, see, it gives us, so if we look, this is the name of the file, and this is the whole URL, and then an ID and some other stuff. All right, so let's go back to our flow. All right, so we go back over here and we add another action, and we want to parse the JSON like that. And what we want to grab is the output. So notice that nice, and we want to, the schema we want to generate from sample. So we can just paste in that and say, okay, we're done. And what happens is it's nice and it gives us all the things that we wanted. So we're at add name and link and ID. It just gives us everything we were wanting, including the size and the reference and so forth. So that's exactly what we want. So we do another one. I know it's a little bit involved, but we want to do control. And we want to apply to each, because what's going on there is that we have one of these for each one of the files that they uploaded. So I'm going to pick this again, and I'm going to again grab the body. But notice it gives me all the other things, which we're going to use in a minute. So what we want to do now is we want to go back to SharePoint. And we're looking for, I'll just search for it, get file content. File content using path. And this is the part that's different than that article I mentioned, because this one we want to do it in SharePoint and not in OneDrive. All right, so what it wants is the site address. Okay, so that's relatively easy. We have that from here. So we're going to get just all the way up to the address. So we'll put that in. And then it wants the path. So that one, whoops. Paste that in again. So it wants me to select the site. And then it wants the file. Now this one's a little bit challenging because we gotta get the we want to use a variable, but we can come in here and click it and then find shared documents, apps, forms, question, and then notice it's got my one, so I'll just pick one of those through. Now what I like to do is just copy that whole thing, and we had some trouble when I was doing this before to see if I can get it to put the right spot in, but we'll try it, because what we want is we want to go back to the thing and get the name of the file. Ah, yeah, so it kind of worked, but we got to get rid of this part because it still had it. So remember when I thought this might be different than question, but it seems like it's all working. So that's the dynamic path to the file. Okay, so that, almost there. And then once we have that, then we're going to go SharePoint again. And we'll search in, oh, there it was, add attachment. Okay, so we again, let's see if I still have that in the clipboard. Nope. See if I can find it. I'll just go over and get it just to be sure. So we have that still to copy. We pick the list, which is attachment list. All right, so now we got to get the ID. So again, we're looking, so this is kind of from the most current. So we're going to get the ID that's of the list item that we just found. Okay, and then the file name, we'll call it the same file name as was the user gave it. So we got to scroll this down and again use the file name from the JSON. And then the content is what we read. So that basically came, both of these came from this get file content used in the past. So it basically read the file. And that was it. So kind of a lot of stuff, but let's save it and let's try it again. So we'll go back and we'll run it. So I'll just call this the real McCoy. The idea, this is the first one that hopefully will actually have that. So we'll do another, let's find another picture. There we go. Do a picture. Here's what I looked like in high school. I like that. So I have them by dates here. All right, so we'll submit. All right, let's go over. Let's see what Power Automate has to say. It says it's running, so let's go. It's reloaded again. It's taking a minute, so it succeeded, so that's good. It took 16 seconds, so it took a little longer than normal. But it ran through here. Said applied to each. Got the content. You can see it got its path, so that looks, got the name of the file correctly. Got the download added as attachment. The whole URL. So far so good. It's looking pretty good. So let's check it out. Let's go over to this. I haven't refreshed this for a while, so it should be there. Each one of them got the email and the description, but let's go look and see if this one has an attachment. That's a good sign. There's the attachment. If we click on it, all right, there's that old mug from a long time ago. So we're able to go through and get the attachment as well. So what ends up in the end is that we have both copies. So if we kind of go back and look, so now going forward, every time this gets answered, it'll put the attachment in and put the data in this case, just the user and the description. If I go back to documents, though, it's also got this list. So it's, for whatever reason, the name of the file is untitled. So I'm not entirely sure why that is. Maybe I didn't, set the form. So it had noticed that it gives the name of the attachment here in the form. So I could find it if I want to use the Excel, because it has the name of the file, and then must be in the actual name of the document. I called this upload attachment. So yeah, you'll have to play with that and see why it said unnamed, untitled file, but it does have the answers here. And then if I go back, then inside here it's got, there's got the name upload attachment, and then it's got all the files in one directory. So let's do one more test on this just to make sure it works for multiple ones. So I'll do the complete one. Let's share it. I'll make it a shorter URL, copy it. Let's put it in the browser. And I'll just say it, test of multiple attachments. So I'll put a picture of my dad there. I'll upload. Let's go back to Christmas. And let me upload one more. I'll upload that boarding pass we were doing before, my wife's. There we go. And submit. So we'll go over to Power Automate and just see how long it takes. So we figure it's probably longer than 16 seconds because that's what it took while it was just doing one file. So there's 18 seconds. So it took about 18 seconds. Let's go over. We got those. We got another copy. Notice it should have a different name. Notice I put the number 1 on that since I uploaded the same file. And that could happen. People could upload the same file. Multiple people named it, travel voucher 1 or something like that. So let's go over to the list, which I didn't put that on the bar there. So let's go to attachments list here. So here's test of multiple attachments. Let's edit that. Good sign. It did each one. Let's try the Christmas picture. There we go. That's what our Christmas tree looks like. So that's it. All right. Well, I know kind of a long video. Hope that it was useful, and have a great rest of this holiday season, and we'll see you next time.